Term limits are a bad idea. What do you do about a Congress that is more interested in holding on to power than serving the people who elected them? When faced with this question, someone inevitably answers with term limits. Then follows a chorus of people in agreement, totally convinced corruption can be eliminated if people just aren't allowed to run again. Even Trump has spoken in support of term limits. The problem, they say, is that politicians can serve forever, that there is no reason for them not to be corrupt when their office is assured in perpetuity. I wonder if they think Clinton only getting 2 terms stopped Bush from being elected. Has presidential term limits stopped the seemingly unending stream of hand-picked establishment sellouts from taking power? Was it term limits that stopped the establishment from having another 4 years in 2016? But let's come back to that. Imagine a system where congressional representatives are limited to 2 terms. Does anyone really believe this will stop the political machines known as the Democratic and Republican National Committees from handpicking the replacements for those outgoing congresspeople? Furthermore, what happens when a good politician is limited out? The sheer number of corrupt do-nothings in power compared to the few good ones guarantees term limits will do more harm than good. For every 1 Rand Paul in Congress, there are at least 10 John McCains. Term limits only guarantee the RNC gets a chance to get Rand Paul out of their hair sooner rather than later. Do you really think they wouldn't take that opportunity to try and pick an establishment hack to replace him? I, for one, think Rand Paul should serve as long as the people of Kentucky will have him, and I have no doubt the country will be better for it. Let's dig into this further, because I can think of a good example to illuminate the problem with term limits. Ron Paul is well known as one of the most honest politicians to ever serve in Congress. He was unwavering in his application of his principles to everything from taxes to war, often bucking the neocons in his own party when it came to foreign war and the surveillance state. He served in the House of Representatives from 1997 to 2013. That is 16 years, being re-elected every 2 years, meaning he served 8 terms as a representative. It wasn't until his 6th term that he ran for president as a Republican, opposed to the Bushites that had taken over the party. If term limits had existed, he never would have been the lone voice for liberty on the stage in 2008, let alone in 2012. The grassroots support his run garnered went on to ensure the election of Rand Paul against McConnell and the RNC's wishes. This support also helped secure victories for other outsiders like Ted Cruz. Term limits would have ensured Kentucky and Texas, among other states, would be today represented by machine politicians picked by the establishment. Do you still think term limits are a good idea? So the question persists. How do we solve the problem of apathetic, corrupt politicians? How do you think Donald Trump won? How do you think Rand Paul won? They won because an engaged electorate looked at their choices and picked the politician they wanted, not the politicians they were told to want. This is, of course, the answer. Despite what advocates of term limits say, politicians don't serve forever. They only serve as long as people vote for them. And as long as the electorate is apathetic, then they will be duped into voting for whoever is put in front of them. So how do you fight the apathy of the majority? Now that is actual hard work. Work that takes place one person at a time. Work that is not fixed by something simple like term limits. That is the difficult answer and the difficult solution. It is, however, the only solution that will actually work. As they say, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.